Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to our Q School Online, our first of many Tuesday classes. So my name is Maura McGinnis, and I am the Northeast Regional Manager for QTran, located in Milford, Connecticut. I am here in the factory, and we're bringing you some Q School. So thank you so much. We know you're all spending a lot of time in front of your computers and in webinars, so thanks for this time. We are going to present our QCAP line of products. We are going to aim to keep it right at 30 minutes, but we'll be here for questions and answers beyond that time. So that being said, if you're not familiar with our samples and our sample cases, you can reach out to your regional manager or your local sales rep and request a sample case or samples that you might need, and you can see these in your home offices. So today I am going to, also, as you think of questions, go ahead and pop them into the Q&A section. And Doug, my co-host, who I'm about to introduce, will field them at the end. We'll both field the questions, or you might see something answered as we go. So go ahead and feel free to populate the Q&A section. The chat section's there, but we're going to try to push everything to questions. But go ahead and, I think everybody's probably Zoom experts by now, so you know how to, whether you're directing your questions to the panelists or you want everyone to see what you're asking. So with that being said, my co-host is Doug Payne. He is our regional manager who is located in St. Louis, and he's here with us, not in Connecticut, but he's here with all of us here on Zoom. So hello, Doug.
Good afternoon, Maura. Glad to see you again, and thank you all for joining us for today's very first Q School sessions on QCAP, flexible fixtures. The very first thing that we would like to do is talk a little bit about our website and where you can find more information on the products that we are going to be looking at today. So if we come into the web page and you go to products, then drop down to QCAP flexible fixtures, it will bring up all of the QTran QCAP flexible fixture offering that we'll be discussing today. On the left-hand side in this column, there are many different filter options. So some of the simplest ones would be by static white, for example. And by clicking on one of these filter options, it will limit how much you have options that are available for you at that moment in time. So QCAP is proudly made in the United States, where Maura is right now, in Milford, Connecticut. QTran has designed our own exclusive profiles and solutions for this product line, and we try to provide best-in-class quality with very high outputs and some of the shortest lead times available in the market, especially for a made-to-order fixture solution like QCAP, encapsulated fixtures. We make our own flexible housing, and in that flexible housing, we add the LEDs, and then we fill it with a clear or translucent polyurethane. And with the three larger fixtures, Boxa, Zala, and Curve that we'll talk about, we can get terrific direct view diode-free finishes with these fixtures with a neon-like look. These products are also engineered to provide delivered light that meets or exceeds the quality that you're specifying and ordering. Not just for the CCT, but as you can see from the charts, the photometric charts on the right-hand side of the screen, the Curve static white SW in 3000K has a color temperature of 3019 with a 96.6 CRI and 91.3 R9, or that's the red. Terrific TM30 values. And it is so close to the black body curve, the DUV is 1/10,000th away from the black body curve. And for those of you familiar with California Title 24, the requirement is that you must be plus or minus 33 10,000ths away from the black body curve. So this is essentially almost right on the black body curve. And so QTran has developed our own proprietary process that eliminates the color shift associated with polyurethane and encapsulated fixtures. And we know that polyurethane actually shifts and makes LEDs appear cooler by about 2 degrees on the black body curve. So we can eliminate you getting fixtures that don't meet your requirements, that aren't close to the black body curve, that might appear green because they're too far north with our proprietary process that we use. And we can always ensure that we're delivering the same color temperatures from fixture to fixture, phase to phase, and even job to job.
So what that means is all those metrics you just saw on the screen are delivered metrics. So encapsulating LEDs is a tricky business because of the polyurethane color shift. And so our engineers have sourced LEDs that perform better when encapsulated rather than what the raw LED is. So that's really important to note, that there's all those metrics are the delivered DUV, the delivered CCT, the delivered R9. So it's this color coming out of the fixture that we're measuring, not the source LED. And all that's been engineered to give you consistent quality of color and delivered light out of your fixtures.
Absolutely, Maura. Thank you for that. And lesser encapsulated products have poor results and poor CRIs, usually in the 80s, and if that. And they certainly aren't consistent from job to job or phase to phase. So this really is an advantage for you. And even some of our competitors ask you what LED you want to go in it, and hope, and then you can hope that you get the results you're looking for to come out of it. But Qtran not only does this with our proprietary process, but we regularly monitor that process to ensure consistency. And all LEDs are tested before they are ever installed into the flexible housing, before they're encapsulated, and then once again after they're encapsulated, before they ship to your job site, to get the best possible results for you and your customers when these fixtures arrive. QCAP products are available in 4 different styles. The Boxa fixture is an up-down bending fixture available in static white, static colors, dynamic white, which is either warm dim or adjustable white, that will dim flicker free down to 1%, and then dynamic colors, which is RGB and RGBW. Our static white products are available in 3 different outputs, 1.5, 3, and 5 watt, and that is across the board for all of these fixtures. And that helps us produce some of the highest efficacy and highest output flexible encapsulated fixtures available today. Maura, would you like to show everyone Boxa?
So here's our Boxa. It's our up-down bend. It has a 6-inch bend radius. This is a pass-through fixture, which we'll talk about later. But here's our Boxa in very high outputs. That's 5 watts a foot, encapsulated in translucent. Next.
All right. Worm is a extremely flexible fixture. It is up-down bend, whereas Boxa has about a 6-inch bend radius. Correct, Maura? This is closer to 2 inches.
Even tighter than that, I would say. But yes, very tight. Up-down bend, slim fixture.
And it allows you to do some pretty creative things, although it is truly up-down bending. It is not a side bending fixture.
But it's got a nice twist.
It does. And these are available in the static white, and dynamic colors offering. Last year, we introduced the 4th fixture, which is Zala, to the family. And Zala is a side-to-side bending fixture that uses the exact same flexible profile and size as the Boxa. And this provides you with outstanding results and allows you to be as creative as you want to be with both up, down, and side bending together. Maura, would you like to show how that?
I would love to show it. So Doug's going to talk about the curve next, which was our original side bend. But if you had a project that had compound curves, you would have to use the Boxa, which was one profile, and the curve, which was a larger profile. The Zala takes that Boxa profile, mounts the LEDs on the side, so that you can through wire different bends with the same fixture profile. So you can see the size is the same, the housing is the same, but I have closest to my body the up-down bend of the Boxa, and farther away from me the side bend of the Zala. So if you have a compound curve project, you can use the same. Ooh, that one looks really cool. Thanks, Mike. Oh, I lost it. So you could have the same fixture profile with different bends.
All right, fantastic. And then Curve is the original side bending fixture we came out with. It's unique in and of itself. Absolutely. It has a parabolic reflector with a discrete lip built into it. So even with a clear lens at the right viewing angle, no one would see any visible LEDs. But even in translucent, it just makes a beautiful fixture.
You can see the parabolic curve that's built into the housing of the curve fixture. I'm showing it with the feed end because there's a little bit of light around the wire that maybe you could see it. But
And so this means that we have essentially an asymmetric fixture that has a nearly symmetrical throw. But this particular fixture gives great direct view diode-free results. In static white, static colors, dynamic white, dynamic colors, and at the very high output 5 watt per foot is one of the brightest, if not the brightest, side bending encapsulated fixture available today, delivering approximately 300 plus lumens per foot. So the other great thing about the Curve is if you were to mount it against a column or a curved wall, etc., it will create a very nice wash as well. All right, and then you can see at the bottom of the screen that we're showing a visual of the difference, non-illuminated, of clear and translucent that you might see if you have fixtures in front of you or if you utilize a sample case. So QCAP is manufactured in an LED clean room, which is the best environment for manufacturing LEDs as well as storing them. And we recently expanded that room. We added a second machine this winter, and that means that we are able to double our capacity. And our lead times are averaging about 4 to 5 weeks, even before this pandemic had hit. Lesser quality products from overseas, folks, have much longer lead times. We're talking 6 to 8 weeks typically from Asia and 10 to 12 weeks typically from Europe. And we're giving you a higher quality product at a very competitive price. Our newest products, we're getting ready to launch, hopefully by the end of this month, a sample that Maura has in front of her. The Boxa RGB with a new tighter pitch and a 50% increased output for diode-free in translucent.
So it's a really nice diode-free color-changing option, great for exterior use or interior use, direct view without harsh single diodes. And this is going to be, this RGB strip is an improvement to both our QCAP line of products as well as our our LEDs that go in extrusions. So it's going to be available, and the cut sheets should be updated within the next few weeks on our website.
Absolutely, thank you. And we also have other QCAP products in development for later this year. So if we look at the typical ordering guide, and this is for the Boxa, you will see a variety of areas to fill in, starting with the mounting. Then we get to the rating, which is dry or wet. Dry is IP20, wet is IP67. We go to our CCTs, our outputs.
Stopping there, Doug. The fixture looks the same regardless of dry and wet. I have a dry fixture and a wet fixture. The wet is only indicated by the wire that we use. So the fixture itself is inherently a wet rated fixture.
Excellent, thank you. CCTs, the outputs that we described, standard, high, and very high, the 1.5, 3, and 5 watt per foot. The lens choices we showed you in the pictures and on the video, encapsulated in clear or translucent. Then we talk about the fixture types, which we'll mention in a few minutes. And then we show that we have the options to do either connectors or wire in, as well as connectors and or wire out. BW indicates 24 inches of standard lead or exit wire, although it is available up to 120 inches for a small fee. And then the end caps, either clear or white, and we're going to show you some of the differences with those in a moment as well. Starting with the mounting
let's talk about
clips.
that max length before we move on to mounting clips, because that's the last part of the ordering guide. So our max length is marked on your ordering guide as 191 inches. That's a limitation of our machinery. So that's just shy of 16 feet, and that's what the machines can pour. I would also recommend, in all your screen time, you take a poke around our website and go to our gallery, and you can see a really short video of the QCAP machine at work. It's pretty cool, and it really answers a lot of how we developed this fixture and how we build it here in Milford. So you'll see that the trays have a limitation of 191 inches. However, that being said, your fixture length is usually dictated by what it is we are encapsulating and the cut points of the LED itself. And then we talk to you a lot about the nuance of your project and how direct view it is, what are your tolerances. There is a tolerance to the building of this fixture based on end caps, wire feeds, and the LED that's in there. So we really get into the details with you and what's priority for your project, length of light or length of fixture, and we also accommodate for or work out voltage drop issues. So you might want a 20-foot fixture and do pass-through wiring, and you might very well be within class 2 limitations of 96 watts or less, but we might tell you there could be some voltage drop or lumen loss. So you might be better served by having two 10-foot fixtures rather than a max fixture and a 4-foot fixture. So all that nuance we're going to help you figure out and help you build these part numbers and build the fixtures that are correct for your project and fulfill the needs of what your priorities are.
Absolutely.
Okay, now
Great
we can talk
point,
about
Maura.
how you install them.
Great point, Maura. Thank you. So speaking of mounting clips, every product has a white snug clip available. The Worm uses the smaller size. White snug clips are stainless steel clips painted white to match the housing, and they have the ability for you to go ahead and just snap a fixture right in, as Maura is about to show you.
So there's a countersunk hole, so you get a clean, smooth line at the bottom, and then you set it every foot or so, and you secure it to your surface, and then you just snap your fixture in. That's it. See how good the color of the clip is to the fixture? It disappears. It's like it's not even there.
We include 2 white snug clips for the very first foot and 1 additional one for every foot after that. So if you ordered a 12-foot fixture, you would normally receive 13 clips. So you could have a clip on either end and space them nominal 12 inches apart along the way of your run. We also offer magnetic clips. Magnetic clips are actually steel clips with a very powerful rare earth magnet that Maura has in her hand. And these have, again, 2 sizes, one for the Worm and then a larger size for the other 3 fixtures.
We don't recommend these for use in places where people have access to the fixtures because although it's a very strong magnet, you can still pretty easily remove your fixture from the clip. So coves are a good place for these. Up behind in a bookcase or a millwork detail, somewhere where you can do a quick snap of the magnet, it's great, but you don't want to have the option to sort of pull the fixture out.
And you certainly don't want to use these anywhere where you're worried about people or property due to weather or any other type of natural events. Moving on, we have our rigid lock channel clip, RLC, and this is our tamper-resistant clip. And the RLC has a hex screw in the side of it, and it actually has a white snug clip inside of it as well. And by tightening the hex screw with an Allen wrench, you can actually pinch the fixture a little bit and hold it in very securely, thus making it nearly impossible to remove from the clip itself. Right. And Maura is showing that right now.
So the clip is, again, that white snug clip is sort of the basis for a lot of our securing methods. And then you can hopefully see there's the Allen screw that we talked about, and then the clip gets pressure fit. We see this used a lot in exterior applications, under bench applications, places where you're going to want the fixture, but you don't want anybody to really mess with it.
Mm-hmm. Public spaces, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And always make sure that when working with contractors that you remind them to leave a little space on the side where they install the hex screw so they can get a 90-degree Allen wrench in there in order to tighten it. That is the rigid lock channel is also made of stainless steel, as is the next clip, the side graze channel. And the side graze channel is terrific. And as we mentioned earlier,
Doug's favorite.
It is one of my favorites, absolutely. With the curved fixture, for example, that will hold it very close to a wall, especially a curved wall, and will create that really nice wall wash effect that we were discussing earlier.
So again, white snug clip inside, secured to this stainless steel, then mounted on your vertical surface. So I'm just going to flip it so you can see 2 countersunk screw holes, which we do provide a cover for that as well. So you have a nice concealed mounting, and then you can set it aiming down. So you've got a nice fixture on a vertical surface pointing down.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Maura.
You're welcome.
The next set of channels are these are our PVC channels, and they're named PPS for the clip and PPS 96 for the 8-foot extrusions. These are UV stabilized PVC channels, and recently we introduced multiple sizes of these channels. We now have a separate channel height for both Boxa, Zala, and a different one for Curve, which is a little taller. That's the original. And then we have a low profile versions of both as well. The original H-shaped channel was initially designed for use when somebody was applying to stone. And no one really wants to put a screw into very expensive, especially imported stone. So typically in those applications, somebody might actually someone would likely epoxy a backer board and then take the lower legs and straddle that backer board and screw right into the backer board that is attached to the stone finish. But we've had people who wanted to apply these in far different ways, correct, Maura?
Yeah, absolutely. Something we discovered too with this clip, the previous method of attachment was to send a long screw sort of through the base of it and then set your fixture on top. But there were times where a wire way was required. And although you could, I wouldn't recommend it with the barrel connectors. If you were splicing, you could sort of pass the wires in that space of the feet. You could potentially tangle up on the screw. So our engineers developed a very cool idea. It's this piece of aluminum that is in my hand, and it has a countersunk channel. So you put a tapping screw in here, secure it to your surface, and then the PPS channel snaps onto that. I'm sliding it in. It would clip on and be held. So I kind of have some big fat fingers here, but you should be able to see when I turn it upside down that you create a wire way, right? So you have a wire way. The barrel connectors will not fit in that wire way, but wires will. So that provides a really clean installation for your wires to go. But as Doug just mentioned, this PPS channel is it's even taller than the Boxa and the Zala. So it takes up, it can really eat up space in an architectural detail. So we developed the low profile, as Doug was mentioning. So I'll put them next to each other, and you can see like the feet are gone on the one that's closest to me, and it's shorter. No wire way, obviously, but if you have just small sections, your wire can snake outside of it very easily. So those are our PPS channels. Also great for water feature or wet location installation.
Absolutely. And so what we found, and the reason why we brought the low profile version out, is because many times contractors were taking bandsaws to the standard PPS clips and channels to cut the lower legs off to make more of a flush installation. And this eliminates that need entirely. So
Doug, we are running into the 6-minute mark. So where are we at? Oh, we're at types.
We're at fixture types. So there are two basic types of fixtures. Single, which is input only, which means that has a power feed in and nothing coming out, and pass through, which has both power in and power out. Yes, there are multiple types of that we're going to cover here in the next couple of minutes. And as you can see, we try to stay consistent whether they are single input in or pass through with power in and out. So if it has a 1 after the S or the P, that means that it is in fed and or exited. A 2 indicates bottom feed and or exited. 3, left feed and or exited. And 4, right feed and or exited. Now, we added this very unique feature when we added the 5 and, as you'll see later, a 6, that allow us to do seamless fixtures. With the box of fixtures, we actually bring the power in from underneath, and with the Zala and curved side bending fixtures, we bring the power in from the side. And we actually add the power approximately 4 1/4 inches inside of the edge of the fixture. And by doing this, it allows us to butt up fixtures perfectly against each other with no visible dim spots.
I'm going to show it off, but when you look in your sample kit, you'll see with one fixture off, which is this fixture I have at the front of the table, and one fixture on close to my body, you can see the light actually sort of passing through due to the clear seamless end caps. See? Look. Non-illuminated, illuminated. What? Now they're both illuminated. It's like magic. And then when we connect them together, we've got a nice, clean, seamless double fixture.
So we'll talk about this again in a minute, but can you go ahead and show the illuminated end, Maura?
Sure. There we go. You can see it right there.
Yeah, and so these fixtures have what we call a clear end cap, but in reality, it matches the finish of the lens, and it allows light to pass through. And by doing that, we can add fixtures together endlessly with no dim spots, and it'll look like one long continuous fixture. And then by utilizing the PVC mount clips and sometimes the channels, we can hold these fixtures together exceptionally well because it is a 2-inch long clip. So they'll be butted up against each other much better than Maura and I can display just using our hands.
But this is, again, all in the case. So where are we? Are we almost, we should be close to our last slide just so we can be cognizant of time. We're
very close. So as we talk about the clear end caps, 0 dim spots, 0 added at the end. Standard white end caps, 0 added at the end, but potentially about 1/10 of an inch dim spot. So it's a great way to end a run, not necessarily something you want to put in the middle. And then the bigger issues are what happens when we bring power in. As you can see on the right-hand side here, the lower side of your screen, it does add a little bit of a dim spot when we bring power in because we have to make those solder points appropriately before we encapsulate on a standard S1P1. But when we add the tri-directional end cap for bottom fed, left and right fed, that is where we run into potentially larger dim spots, and it adds about 1/3 of an inch to your fixture length. Okay,
and again, we'll help you figure out all those really discrete dimensions when we help you build your project.
Absolutely. And so this next chart just shows everything that is available. And as you can see for the curve and the Zala side bending, we have added a 6 to the single power feed. And this allows us to butt multiple fixtures up together without worrying about turning a fixture around or having the wire on the wrong side. So this is all, again, as Maura said, something we will help you through. Maura, what is that saying you like to say?
I always say this is a feature, not a burden. So when you're building your part number as a specifier, or even if you're just working on a quote, none of this is going to impact your pricing. None of this is going to impact how quickly we can build it. It's just going to give you the product that you need when the order comes through. But if you need to specify it and you don't know if you need a right feed or a left feed or a back feed or a bottom feed or whatever, you don't have to, you can just say S1 all day long or P1. It doesn't matter. We can fix it later and you don't need that. You can put X's in your part number. So it's a feature, not a burden. It gets a little overwhelming. I think your next slide is probably the part number configurator again.
Yes.
So you can see there's a lot to choose from, but it's all there to help you as a specifier.
Absolutely. And our great inside team, as well as our application engineering team, it all stands behind us as we stand behind you, trying to make sure that we get your projects right the first time.
Yes.
And again, you're just coming back to those, the unique profiles and solutions, the high quality that goes into all of these products, the very high outputs, the short lead times, and again, proudly made in Milford, Connecticut for all of you. This is, a terrific product line. And so we welcome your questions and comments or good jokes. And we're going to...
And again, thank you for spending your time with us.
Yes.
Thank you for supporting QTran all these years. And we want to help support you in your projects, especially in this time, whatever we can do. We're here. We're working. We're all available. So, Doug, what do you have in the question list? Anything? And if obviously we respect your time. So we're here to answer questions, but for all of those of you who need to leave us, thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And we're going to answer these questions in a second. Or, of course, if you think of any later, please relay those to your regional sales manager. Let's see. The very first question we received looks like it is from Mark Foster. Thank you, Mark, out in Las Vegas. And it says the PVC mounting clips and extrusion channels allow for concealed wiring behind. Some of the clips also allow for wiring out back as long as the exit point is not the same clip point. Clips can be placed anywhere. So it's a good point. Oh, okay, Shannon, thank you. Am I reading answers then, Shannon? It looks like Dan Wyant out in Hawaii, though, does have a question. What is the easiest way to sort out left or right feed? So S1, S2, S3 doesn't change cost. It doesn't, Dan. It really does not change cost. How can you tell when you're presenting? And his joke is, how can you tell when you're presenting to an extroverted electrical engineer? So thank you.
Well, how can you tell?
How can you tell?
What's the joke?
He stares at your shoes when he talks to you. That's how you can tell. So thank you for the joke, Dan.
Right is a good question, actually, Doug, that we didn't talk about. You want to talk about left and right on curve? What's left and what's right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm pulling up this slide that we showed a moment ago because it does a pretty good description of it. What we're trying to accomplish with an installation of box or curve when we pull power out the side is to always have power coming out the same side. So left would indicate the end closest to you is where the single power feed would be, and right would indicate the end furthest from you, always having power on the same side. This way, we can avoid having to loop power underneath the fixture. Obviously, when we're doing power in and power out, like a P5, power's on both ends, and it really doesn't matter. It's agnostic at that point. But when we are doing this single input only fixture, that's where we would run into it. And this would allow us then to go ahead, Dan, and take an S5 and maybe move it to the right, and an S6 and move it to the left, and do a double feed right in the middle, and then feed power out left and right on your job site. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, like which is left and which is right? Facing the LED or from behind the LED? I know it's minutia, but because the curve has a viewing angle issue, right? Because of the way it's mounted, there, if you were in clear, you see there's a way you can look at the curve and see the LEDs because you're seeing into the fixture, right? So the left and right is relative to being behind the fixture, as I understand it.
So typically, Maura, if the fixture is below eye level in the clear curve, you would not be able to see the LEDs if they were facing down behind the discrete lip. If it was above eye level, you might flip it around the other way.
Right. But I'm saying when we say left and right, we're referring to the left or right side of the curve, especially from behind the LEDs.
Oh, absolutely correct. Because we can only put LEDs on one side of the channel.
Right.
We can't flip the channel around and put it on a different side.
Right.
So, all right. Thank you very much.
Hopefully that was extra confusing.
Let's see. We also have some things that have come in. So Pete Ostrowski is asking, let's say we're feeding from the beginning of row P1, but feeding the next section P5, which is left. So Pete, typically you would use P1 with an S1. You would use the seamless with a P5. Hopefully that makes sense. You typically wouldn't be feeding with two different ways. So we're trying to keep it very consistent. So if somebody was
Well, you would have a P at the end, Doug, right? Or an S at the end. I think that's a fair...
You would have an S at the end, correct, but not... You wouldn't use a P1 and then a P5 in the same type of fixture. In the same row of fixtures.
I was a designer for a lot of years. I wouldn't say I wouldn't. Never say never. But that's to our point, right? So that's what I kept kind of bringing up before. Here in the factory, we have a whole team of folks who are working on those bills of material. We have a lot of lighting experience. I spent a couple days as a lighting designer in my life. So we'll figure that out per project. This is a project-based product solution. This is something we really want to work with you on to get it to be a real addition to your work. And we'll help you figure that out. So... and like I said, we help you figure that out when the order comes in as well. So although it's really important to understand the minutia of what this product does, we're here to help you with it as the orders come through. So you don't have to get buried in the weeds of this now.
And Pete, the most important thing to understand is how the project wants to feed the power. Do they want to feed it from the left, the right, the bottom, etc.? Not necessarily S's and P's and things of that nature.
Right.
At this point. And then, David Wild's patent made a very good point. He said in theater, it's stage left and stage right. So yeah.
Exactly, which is why I always bring up the left-right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that comment. It's very.
That's why it's whether you're
true.
upstage or downstage of the LEDs.
Yes. So Maura, with that, I don't see any more questions or comments, but thank you all very, very much for attending and letting us into your workday today.
Thank you, everybody.